or even a sailor if you're not using old rum bottles to put your engine cool.
Different. I don't know why this person put this in. The worst.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to being dead. Been stabbed in the back bed, I'll show you what happens. Pass me the mic and I'll show you with action.
Alright, another project. We got a lot of them. So, this project's like kind of a big one. No, that's horseshit. This one's a really big one. But I need to give a backstory first to explain why this is a big one. So we're putting in a new water heater. Yeah, now for everyone watching, it's like, well, who cares, right? So we have a water heater on this boat, and it's kind of like tailed into a bunch of other issues on the boat. If you've been following along, we have a I think it's a Bosch electric. It's like something you find in like an RV or something, whatever. It's like it's a 6-gallon full electric water heater, which we hate. It's 110 watt, 110 volt, 1500 watt water heater. And so the only way we could run it now is either by running it off the generator or running it off of the inverter while we're running. And so making hot water for showers sucks. It's just this whole endeavor. We are switching to a traditional boat one. So those that aren't familiar, maybe that watch channel, pretty much any marine water heater I've ever seen is electric and engine cooled. So basically the engine coolant goes through a heat exchanger, so when you're running the boat, it makes warm water using the cool in the engine. It's a freaking phenomenal system. There's really not a downside to it, and it still plugs in. If you pull into the dock and you could plug it in and still have electric power. So whatever reason, the knobs that had this fucking boat before took that one out in place for this, and that's what leads me into issue one. Whoever put this freaking electric water heater in capped off the old coolant lines with some push-on caps. Now, if you follow along, you probably know I don't like push-on fittings. I don't like teethed to an O-ring freaking fittings. I don't like them at all. I don't like push-ons. They're so easy to use. No, screw that. There's a reason they're easy to use. They go on easy, they come off easy. I don't like them. So those were leaking. And so, because he's like, I don't know. So I came out a second time, like, no, what do you mean you don't know? That's the whole fucking coolant system. Dry. So I look and I see this thing leaking. I'm like, all right, that's where it was going. It's leaking off there. Fine, whatever. I'll plug those. Yeah, it was a year and a half ago now, so since then we've been good, but this water heater does leak a little bit, I think. I've chased the fittings and I get a little bit of water underneath it, and I'm not freaking sure where. But it's just, we're just not going to interrupt. Just enough for the pump to kick on once in a while and make me crazy chasing it and keep me from a dry bilge. And so, anywho, between this thing and that, yada, 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 we want this thing to go bye-bye. So we have now ordered and got our new water heater, and our water heater actually is right about here, which is not a ton of fun. This is where all my batteries are. We have 3 8Ds there, and then I also have an 8D here on this side. They basically are pushed into the water heater here, and I have an access under all our shoes and shit here. That's an access hatch. That is an access hatch-ish. Access hatch-ish. I say it 10 times fast. So those aren't moving, meaning I'm going to pull the water here, and this battery may have to move. So I may be pulling one, but I'm not going to pull 3. I might pull 1. Oh. So we got here, we got a copper line here on the engine, one here, which is kind of kicking back and real dangerously close, so it's going to be nice. And then you have these beautifully not weathered hard piece of plastic rubber. Yeah, these are gonna go bye-bye. And so you can see here ish, I did a crappy sweat job, but I just did it. It's not crappy, it's sealed, but not pretty. So I'm gonna cut these with a pipe cutter. I gotta drain the coolant first, cut these with a pipe cutter, and then I'm going to sweat in 2 ball valves and mount those, and then I'm gonna run new hose through here. And then there's copper on the other side, running through here, copper lines come that turn, and they're deadheaded, and then here's the electric water heater. So here we go. I gotta drain the coolant first. I'm actually going to use, where's my other jug? Shit. Yeah, so whenever we come into port, we got garbage. We usually keep our garbage down pretty good, except for all the freaking plastic they put on everything, man. You don't know where that till you move on a boat, how much freaking plastic is on everything. Anywho, so we don't keep a lot of jugs. Anytime we get to port, we dump all our jugs. So what I have is one old jug here, and then 2 half-gallon rum bottles. Don't judge me. It didn't take me as long as I'd like to say to drink those, but yeah, so we just hadn't dumped those when we got to port. We're getting ready to chuck them, and then I need a jug. So that should give us 2 gallons. I don't gotta completely drain it, I just gotta drain it past that low spot, and that's most of it. It is most of it, and I think it's 2 or 3 gallon system, so we'll see if I have enough here. All right, first jug's filled. On the second one. Or even a sailor if you're not using old rum bottles to put your engine coolant in. Am I right? I will say this coolant is month is it? August? This coolant's 9 months old, and this is a clear bottle. And like, I don't think it'll do it justice, but look how clean that coolant is. Alright, look at that. So we're empty-ish. And I say empty-ish because it's never freaking empty, no matter what. Every time you get it empty and then you pop a line, there's some trapped here, so there's so. But at least everything now I can catch without a towel, or catch with a paper towel. And so, yeah, we got most of it. I freaking filled maybe 2.5 gallons, I think, or so. And I know that some gets trapped in the block because of the way this thing sits. So maybe it's a 3 gallons. I can't remember. I need to make a note. I'm pretty good about making notes about that stuff in my log, but my maintenance log section, but I didn't last time, so I must have been in a hurry. So I gotta make sure I do it this time. So yeah, I think it's 3 gallons. So, but yeah, I mean, this shit came out really freaking clean. So there's no way I'm gonna go replace that because it is only, I want to say 8 months old. I don't know, something like that. December, no, August, that much old. All right, couldn't really see it from there, but I forgot to turn the damn camera on. So if you're not familiar, this is a pipe cutter, tube cutter, the hell you want to call it. Spin it around a bunch of times, kink, pops off the copper. I'm keeping some of the copper hard lines. This here's a sweat on fitting. So I'm gonna do a sweat on to thread so I can replace valves when I need to down the road. All right, I'll have to clean that up a little, but yeah, so we'll sweat that on. Number one. Yeah, so that one's gonna go low, this one's gonna go high. Anyways, yeah, so I'll have that, and then there's gonna be a small rubber section here that goes from here to here. I had these old hoses on, I didn't realize it went so far. I could have actually put a sweat fitting and done it from basically the valve to here, but I think they don't like too much hard line with vibration. You want it to move a little and shit, so I think it'd be better to put a little rubber joint here, so if the engine's all running around, it can, you know, shake and shit. So yeah, so we'll have one valve here, the other one will be underneath here. It should work out pretty good, probably. Alright, so clean these ends up. Or get all the shit off these. Alright, so it's all done here. I figured I'd save you guys the boringness of me sweating in some copper fittings. So I got it hooked up now. So one end tees off of the little coolant tank here, comes down, goes in, and then it goes around. It comes into this lower section here. So one thing on boats that really drives me nuts is when you don't have a lot of hard lines and they're not deadheaded, no valves, shutoffs, redundancies, you know. And so what we did here is I put 2 valves here. So this is a coolant heated hot water heater. So the reason I did that is if the hot water heater ever leaks on the coolant side, which is super possible, shit happens a couple years from now. The thing I don't like about this system, and I've seen a lot of boats like it, is if the coolant leaks and starts leaking in your bilge, it's a bummer on its own. Your engine coolant system is compromised now. It's going to leak out, and if you build pressure, and they build pressure, when your coolant system builds pressure, it's going to really start spewing out. Then the warmer that thing gets, the more pressure, the more heat expansion happens. It's a problem. So what I did is I have these, and I bought nice brass ball valves, all brass ball valves. I have these, and so that if we ever have the incident where it starts leaking 5 years down the road, a year if we got this shitty one, all we do is we lock these down. There's 2 of them, and that will then close that system off, and then this can keep running just like normal. And then also, like I said, it's electric heat, so we could plug it in and that element might work too, depending on what's wrong with the tank. So anyways, just putting in those extra securities, if anyone follows along through some of my other stuff, you'll see that when it comes to electrical, plumbing, whether it's fuel, water, anything like that, I always like putting deadheads, because you know what, when you have one little leak or one little hose leak and you can lock something down, fix it and lock it, it's so much better than draining an entire system, doing all this stuff. So food for thought for anyone that's doesn't do that, or they're both set up the same way. If you have to get in for a project, do it while you're in there. Put a redundant filter or redundant amount of valves. You know, I'll even put a valve at one end and on the other and isolate each end. And that's where why I say redundant is because I'll put a couple in from the start of it, and if it has a big 6 to 10 foot run, you can even put one on the other end, that being power, plumbing, anything. So just food for thought on that one. It makes your life a lot easier if you got to go back in again, because let's face it, quality parts nowadays sucks. So even if you buy the top line part, you couldn't get a part that might just fail in a year. It just happens. So food for thought. All right, so first step's done. We got the lines coming in. So I'm gonna take down the belly of the beast. In the background, if it like looks like it's a huge pigsty in here, it's because it is. So we were like trying to like organize, reorganize, moving shit around, stuff, trying to like, I mean, this boat has a lot of space, like most boats, but there's still dead space. So we're literally moving everything around to take advantage of the space we can as we're putting more stuff on, more tools, more parts, more food. So that's why it's a disaster here. But I'm going to take you down in this. It's dirty in here too. And this isn't just because we're leaving this always dirty. So down here in this hole, this is where our ladder usually is. It comes out. These friggin' grates here let everything falls. It lands in here in this bilge area. So anyway, so this is the water system kind of, and then we got one big battery down there. That sucks. Which probably shouldn't put that there. And then boom, there is this water heater that someone put in here. So I got to get it past this. If it won't fit past that, I can pick it up and move it into this open area here. And I don't know how I'm going to be giving you a preemptive, because I don't know how I'll be able to film and put myself in there. There's not a lot of room for me. But you can see here, barely, these are those copper lines coming through. And then they deadhead crap right back here, basically. So I'll have to run a line, soft line from here to here. Anyways, it's hard to see that tee off right there is for our washer for the hot water coming out. So if I remember right, that's water out. and this right here is water in. So I'll end up putting a valve probably pretty close to right there, actually. Try to see how I want to do that. So in the meantime, I have to shut our water off, which just sucks. But the kids are playing with Grandma. We're in port right now, which makes it really nice. So I can shut off because as parent law goes, if you turn any system off, all of a sudden a child will find a reason for water. Meaning they'll get spilled on shit or need a bath or, I don't know, go play with a dead animal. I don't know. Kids are crazy. But yeah, so now I can turn it off and not have to deal with kids being like, why the water not work? And so, yeah, I'm going to get that knocked out as quick as possible. Yeah, so I literally just going to unhook it. Power's removed. I'm going to test power so I don't get lit the hell up. And then let this water drain, let loose pressure. Then I'll put a valve on it to stop the cold water side. And then it's just dragging Big Bertha out. So I climb my butt in the hole and go from there. All right, so that's it. It's out. Fucking had to take apart half of everything in there to get it out, which is fucking irritating. So we're gonna do some damage control and see if I can fit the other one in. That sucks. But yeah, this is the piece of shit that's coming out. So I didn't show anything in there because you can't really see shit anyways with me in there. So, but yeah, step one. All right, so this is the new one. One thing that's nice about this is you'll see is these are water in, hot water out, and then you have coolant line, everything's on the front. So this is gonna be facing out this way. So this fucking retard here who put this one in, can be mounted in different ways, decided to put the electrical and both the plumbing straight up in between two supports. So to get undone, I had to actually do everything, loosen everything, cut lines, do shit here, and then slide it out here. It makes no freaking sense. So this one is going to be orientated like this. It's going to kind of sit actually about there, and then you'll have, in the front, you have access to everything. So that's one thing you do different. I don't know why this person put this in and then hooked it up the worst way possible. But yeah, old piece of crap. New one for the engine. So start getting cracking on getting that in.
I'm going to go ahead and explain what happened with the rest of the install of the water heater because Tony is off doing other projects that need to be done before we leave, and he's just too busy to explain right now. And so I was there for the rest of the install, and basically it was a hell of a time getting the water heater down into there. We had to, or not we, I just sat and watched and helped where I could, but he had to basically unhook everything down there and remove the battery out, as you saw, and then we were able to finally have the new water heater in, and then he hooked up all the lines, which took some time. He had to put all the fittings on and everything, and it is now working. We've tested it. It works great. The only thing is the electric part of it, where you could have it plugged in to be electric, we don't have hooked up right now, because when he was taking out the old water heater, which is part of why it was such hell getting it out, we figured out that there's something going on with the electrical. There's a crossing of wires or something, and so he didn't feel comfortable with hooking up the wiring right now until he figures out what's wrong with that, because when he was trying to pull the old water heater out, it actually electrocuted him, and we had the power off. There was no reason that there should be power to it, so there's some sort of power that's giving it power that's somewhere else. And so he just felt that it wasn't safe to have it hooked up. So until he figures that out, we won't have the electrical part of it hooked up. But we can still get hot water off of the engine, just not being plugged in and using, you know, the, I don't know, 1500 watts that it takes when it's plugged in by electric power. So that's the end of the install, and we're probably going to be doing a couple more of these because we have so many projects that we have to do before we leave, and we are actually going to be leaving here in real time in a couple of days heading north. Yeah, I guess if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below, and subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you for watching.
Don't wanna sleep in